we bought her a really expensive raincoat because obviously they hate the rain, Pomeranians, because they've got like this two coats. The outside one is really heavy, and when it gets wet, it's just horrific. So we said, oh, I'll get her a raincoat. So we bought this really expensive, like, designer doggy raincoat, and she absolutely hated it. Her face was a picture, miserable. So those are her hates, pet hates. She's here
It's a
now.
handbag dog. It's not good. Any dog that you dress up. No, no, no.
Okay, guys, I'm pretty sure everyone noticed we all live. So, team, don't mute your microphone. Obviously, we will start. Yeah, as I said, first 5-7 minutes we'll take it a little bit easy because people are usually late. So I will introduce you. And yeah, I know what Ammon is gonna say. I'm not gonna do it from left to right today. No. I'll start with Dawn Anderson. Okay, today we have everybody from United Kingdom. We expect one Canadian, but we do have everybody from United Kingdom. So we have Dawn Anderson. We have Ammon Jones, which is easy to understand. Ammon Jones is what it says.
Sure.
Okay, yeah, we have Tony Dimmock with us. We also have Tim Copper. Yeah, we have Craig Campbell from Scotland, and we have our Canadians. Well, if I can say so. Oh well, they're definitely in Canada at the moment. Hi, Randy. Hi, Moama. Okay. So today we're not usual topic, SEO. Usually we're talking about some technical stuff. Today we'll talk about business, as digital marketing as a business, SEO as a business. Business is what, I don't know, what's the definition of business? Art of making money, isn't it? Or something like that. Ammon, what do you think? What is business?
That is a great question, and it's so many different things to different people. Yeah, at the end of the day, for most people, it's a way to make a living. It's a way to make money. But it should be a little bit more than that. For me, a business is always something that you give back to the community. It's something that should employ people. It's something that pays taxes and improves its society. It's actually your chance to build something more than just a living, because you can get a living working for other people. Owning your own business is a lot of work, and it's got to do something extra for that. And money, for me, isn't enough of an answer.
Yeah. Anyone can answer this question. What's business for you? Dawn?
Mine's well, for me, it's obviously, as you say, a way to, I have to pay the bills, but I'd rather pay the bills doing something actually I'm really passionate about. And because if you've not got, passion for something, it's really hard to stay motivated when you do work for yourself, when you don't have to go to a 9-to-5 job as such. So, we were having a chat today on one of the Twitter chats, and it was around procrastination and motivation without the passion. It's just really hard to keep going when you're self-employed. So for me, a business definitely has to have that element of, it's got to be something you really feel strongly about. So profit and loss and, passion, really.
Yeah, okay, I will repeat questions, especially for Randy. What is business for you? Because I describe business as art of making money. Well, obviously, yeah, okay. Craig, you were saying something?
I was pretty much going to agree with Dawn and Ammon. Everyone does want to make money and stuff like that, but for me, obviously, running my own business allows me flexibility. You get to choose who you work with, choose what clients you work with, take days off when you need to take days off. You don't have to, go into the whole in-house fighting with other staff. So running your own business is certainly, it's a lot more than just about making money. There's a lot of other benefits. There's a lot of other downsides to it as well, but it just gives you a lot more flexibility and freedom, which I feel massively to me.
Yeah, totally.
Tony?
Yeah, I think also, in addition to all the above, I think that to run a business or to start a business, you've got to have a good reason why. You know, getting out of bed in the morning, probably earlier than anyone else, working to a set amount of hours after everyone has gone home. When the shit hits the fan and you turn to the person next to you in your job, but in your own business there's no one there because it's you, those are all the kind of hard realities of running or building a business. So if a person's reason why, really, if they just want to make money, you can make money online, you can make money in a job. If you really want to build a dynasty or something that's going to take time and effort over a period of years, then you've really got to know what you're doing from a perspective of having having that in your gut, that reason why. Because there's nothing more. I think there was a survey done years ago in the UK, and out of all the businesses, they found that 75% of businesses fail within the first sort of 2 to 5 years. Only 25% of businesses, if that, even now, continue. And when the price of running a business or building a business outweighs the reason why you're doing it, you come unstuck. So in many ways, for me, business is about renewing my reasons why I'm doing it daily. Because as soon as you start to get into that complacency mindset of, it's a business, everything's fine, I'm plodding along, every now and then something comes along to knock you for six, to like a bit of a curveball. And at that point, you've got to think, well, why am I doing this? What's in it for me? Well, why am I doing it? Why am I putting in the hours? So if someone's reason why isn't where it should be, they, over a period of time, for some people, they get into the business for one reason and continue it for another reason. So yeah, it's a voyage of self-discovery, because when you're running a business, there's nothing that can, no matter how many books you read or classes you go to or seminars, when you're running a business and it's down to you or your team and you're responsible for your team, that's when it really counts. That's when you've got to be real, That's what it is. That's what it is to me.
I think that kind of brings us to one of the distinctions between business. There are 3 kinds of business you can build. The first is the one that pays the bills, the ones the job you want to work in. Okay, that's number 1. Then there's the empire or the legacy, the business you want to build, to own, run, hand down. And then third, there's the big money business, is usually the one, but it's the one where you build the business to sell. The business itself is a product, and there's a lot of people doing this these days where you build the business with a 5-year exit plan. Your goal is to build a good business that you can then sell on and move on and start another business, the real entrepreneurial stuff. And it's important, I think, to know which of those you want very early on, because they are very, very different things.
I would agree. I just want to check the sound because we're not using the microphone here, so we can hear. Everybody can hear. Good. I was just going to say that business online to me is connecting with people. Momar Mujevic is sitting right next to me from Croatia. We couldn't have made that happen if Momar wasn't. Momar and I weren't on the same wavelength. So I hope everybody can hear that. I can't tell on my end if the audio is working. It's all good? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'd like to say thanks to Momar for actually being here. So he's traveled halfway around the world to sit here with us and chat with you guys.
Wow. My God, didn't he have anything useful to do? I mean, what's going on?
Oh, man.
It's craft beer, kayaking, and talking to you guys.
Yeah.
That's why I'm in the business, the freedom to do that.
Do all 3 together. Kayaking, you can still drink and drive.
Yeah, and boss people around. That's what I like to do.
So I think we kind of got to get into what was the toughest thing for each of us here about starting our own business or running a business. What was the first big slap in the face? My God, I didn't see that coming.
Taxes. Taxes. Once we got those figured out, everything was good.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. There's nothing worse than VAT returns arriving just when you're just due to go on your holidays and you have to do your VAT return while you're sat outside a hotel room. So mine always seem to fall just when I'm on holiday. And as you say, you know, you've got to watch out for those taxes, because I know that it's the same across all businesses, but you think that you're doing amazingly well, and then taxman cometh, and all of a sudden, you know, there's a big chunk that you've got to put aside. And I think there's an awful lot of people that just, maybe the lesser experienced ones, that spend too much and don't realise that actually it's not their money.
Yeah, that's right. And you know what? There's maybe on the flip side of that is the legitimacy that comes with charging it. Is people take it a little more seriously than the days before.
Mm. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, but it's definitely. I mean, the admin side of a business is the, you know, it's not the sexy side, is it? But if you don't do that well, then a business can fail just from that alone. And that doesn't come down to passion. It comes down to just, you know, good housekeeping, really.
So true.
I think.
Yeah.
So. I think for me, from a challenge perspective, after building the business, I mean, I started my business in my back room. I had at the time I had a 4-year-old and a couple of newborn twins. So I had 3 kids, and I started the business from my shed. It's all on my blog, on my shed. It's on there as well. And within the first 6 months of starting the business and dealing with clients, for me the biggest pain wasn't tax. For me the biggest pain was having my laptop crash, and I lost all my data from all my clients I'd worked with, and all my quotes and all of my lead information for the 6 months, which taught me a really big lesson, which was to make sure you do backups regularly. And it's kind of funny, I found that what I learned in my first year of building my business has served me so well over the last 6 years I've been building it. And for what we all think is a terrible thing that happens, whether it's the backup not being there, or we lose a big client, or we have financial struggles, there's 2 ways of looking at these things. One is, oh my God, it's terrible, oh God, I'm worried. The other way is, you know, there was once someone said that in every adversity there is a seed of equal or greater benefit. And everything that happened to me in the first year, however shit it was, and a lot of it was really shit, it put me in good stead. And I couldn't have put the same importance and priorities in place that I did in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th year had I not gone through those bad experiences in the first year. And a lot of businesses, I feel, as soon as the going gets tough, oh, you know, it's too much. Well, business is tough. A, you're up against other people in your same field who want to eat your lunch. 2, unless you have good cash flow going through your business, you're screwed, because if your outgo exceeds your income, your upkeep and how you run the business will be your downfall. You know, you'll run out of business, and we all hear businesses going out of business. And also, you know, the person. It really, a lot of it, for me, depends upon, or the way it happened to me was, I worried like anything in the first year, but I learnt to try and A, have a balance to a degree, but B, to get some thick skin, because there's a lot of information out there that states that business is beautiful, it's wonderful, it's fluffy, build a multi-million-pound business, this and the other, but nothing quite prepares you for that first year, you know. And I think one of the things that I've seen online a lot on Twitter, and I think with John Doherty in the States, is this mentality that there should be far more for businesses in our field, but in other fields, where we can share experiences, where we can moan a bit, where we can say it's okay to tell us about that terrible time you had. Because there is this rather peculiar, rather silly approach that everything should be rosy. If someone struggles, if someone gets depressed, if someone fails in business, if they struggle, well, that should be more talked about and maybe shared. And I think a lot of people have this stigma about admitting when they get things wrong, or when they struggle, or when they have things happen to them. And I think it'd be good, this is off subject now, but I think it'd be good if over time, you know, people would be more willing to share their experiences. Because I think we'd all probably do with each hearing each other's stories, thinking, do you know what, I'm not silly, I'm not crazy, I'm a bit of a tough guy, or I've got through that, and I should pat myself on the back more. and there's not enough of that done for people to run their own businesses. Profits, growth packing, that's a load of hogwash. If the person who's running that business in their heart and in their head doesn't feel good, at some point it will catch up with them. That's what I feel, you know. So the reason why, again.
For me, it wasn't particularly taxes, it was admin generally. You know, how much time. I knew it was going to be complicated. I knew, you know, I was going to have to get my head around the taxes and the numbers, and that didn't surprise me. What surprised me was the sheer amount of business admin you have to do ongoing. It doesn't matter what I do, I've never been able to get my admin down to less than about a third of all my working time.
I mean, I've got to agree with Ammon here. I mean, when I first got into business, I was doing SEO. I never set out to be a business owner, and found myself, you know, starting to work for myself, and I wasn't aware of everything like taxes or anything else. But I mean, these are not a problem. It is more the admin, because I was more than just the SEO guy. I was, you know, trying to get staff. I was having to be a counsellor to the staff. People are taking sickies. You can't trust staff, and all the other admin. I had to be, you know, I had to invoice clients, had to chase them up for payments. You know, websites were getting hacked and blown up, and I had to back them up. Before you know it, you're not an SEO guy. You're a, you know, I don't even know what you would call that job. But I mean, there isn't.
Fireman, you're putting out fires.
Yeah, and it's obviously one of those things in this industry where, you know, as Tony said, there's always someone else that's prepared to eat your lunch, and you have to try and remain on top of your game, and clients expect more and stuff like that. But you have to keep on top of the admin, and you know, have the right people around about you to do that for you. I mean, I've built up an agency, had, you know, 15 staff and whatnot, and that was just a headache, a severe headache, and I've now cut it back to basics, because it's, I mean, I don't want to be a business owner. I find myself as one, but it's certainly not all it's cracked up to be. People look at me and go, well, you've got a business, life's all great. I mean, I'm sure everyone here will agree. It's, you know, I've got grey hairs popping out all over the place now because of it, so it's not all that, you know, it's not all it's cracked up to be. But you've got to live and learn and get on with it. And again, what Tony says, you know, sharing these experiences with other people is really important, and that's what I've found myself doing with other people, just picking up bits and bobs from other people, trying to help me along the way, because you get kicked in the teeth no matter what. Anyone that says they just go into a business, you know, sign up and they make millions of pounds, they're either very lucky or lying. There's always something along the way that gets you down, but you just get up and get on with it and learn from it, and, you know, you're still fighting at the end of the day, and always will continue to do so.
I think what both Bomber and I did right in the early days was make sure we have an admin person to take those headaches away. So.
Yeah, that's always one of the things. I've even known people to hire their own MD, you know, somebody to actually do the business administration side of the business, technically be their boss, because that was the bit they didn't enjoy. There's a lot of people who, we want to start a business doing the thing we love. If you're doing that first kind of business, I want the job for the rest of my life doing something I love doing, then this might be a really smart way forward, is to hire yourself a managing director and carry on doing the bit you love. Because I guarantee you, if you start a business because you love doing a thing, you've just guaranteed that you're never again going to be able to spend more than about a third of your time doing that thing.
Exactly.
Definitely. Yeah. That's definitely part of the reason why I've not chosen to massively grow things, because I actually really enjoy SEO. I'm your typical geek. I love pushing my head into like server logs and having a root around and, you know, keeping up to date with absolutely everything. And I think that there's quite a danger, as you say, unless you actually have somebody who's going to take the hassles away of hiring and firing and so forth. You can end up, you don't lose the knowledge that you've acquired, but you can, in our industry, just move so really quickly that people move up through the ranks, and then before they know it, they're actually not really an SEO anymore. They're running a business of SEOs. Do you see what I mean? And I choose to actually be still that person that is up to the minute with everything that's happening. So almost more of a consultant, really. I've got some.
Moved from being a doer to being a manager.
Yeah, I kind of prefer to almost be a consultant, but I have to have some staff. So I have staff, but then I also have people who I work alongside who are experts in other things. So, you know, I'll work with somebody who's an expert in PR, who works for themselves. I'll work with an expert in PPC. There's less politics, and I can still continue to be, if you like, increasingly better at SEO, because that's my real passion, if you like. So I think it is personal choice.
We did get a question in. I did see it, Anton. Somebody, let me see, Praneet asked, does anyone find getting clients or getting the knowledge, acquiring the techniques to be challenging? And over the years with forums, I know this is one of the things. Where'd you get the first client? You know, how do you get the clients? This kind of needs to be, it kind of needs to be in your business plan before you start the business. You know, you need to know where you're going to be getting clients from. You don't, I think one of the mistakes I see a lot of people do is, oh, I could do it as good as that, I'm going to start a business. Now, first things, you've already gone wrong. It's no good being as good as somebody else. We've already said, everybody else out there is trying to eat your lunch. If you're as good as a competitor, you're going to get none of their clients because you're only as good and they already deal with them. You have to be better. So don't look at what everybody else is doing and say, I could do that too. There's no business in that. You've got to do it different. You've got to do it better in some way, shape or form. How you get the clients, I mean, if you're really trying to start out, you're trying to get the experience, volunteer. Find some charities that are looking up. Go on Kickstarter, look who's starting up and who could do with a hand doing some digital promotion. Find places to volunteer and get some experience in that you feel good about, because you're not going to get money for it, but that will get you the experience to get started. Anyone else?
I would say that a little bit further on. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that the vast majority of business I've acquired through recommendation. So, you know, maybe I've gone out there and had to look for the initial one or two, but then everybody else has been recommended to me, and we've ended up with just huge longevity. So, you know, 4 years. So we don't necessarily have to go out and keep looking for stuff. I suppose if you're going to build a massive agency, you've got to have that. You know, you've got to constantly have that business development going on, and you've got to look to feed into the pipeline. But it is, you know, different businesses are different along the way. If you're going to build something that you want to sell, then feeding the front end of the business is you know, definitely, you can't avoid it. But from a personal perspective, pretty much everybody I've acquired has been recommended, and we've retained, and that's it, over the years.
I think we were one of those overnight successes that took 15 years to happen. So all those years of meeting people and networking and referrals and doing good work and building a reputation. When we started Kayak, we had a head start because of that. It did us a lot of favors just having that background. So for us, it wasn't starting from scratch. It was many years of building a reputation first.
I've got a. Sorry, go on, Craig. Go on, you.
What I was going to say, I don't find acquiring clients a huge problem, but I think you do have to build up a reputation in this day and age, because everyone is claiming to be an SEO. You know, I come up against, I see clients who come to me and say, you know, I paid this guy, you know, outrageous amounts of money, and you know, it looks like the guy's read a book or, you know, read a forum from 8 years ago, a few directory listings and stuff, and they're passing it off as SEO. So client retention is the hard part. Doing a good job in retaining the client, you know, that's key. Not acquiring them. Anyone can sell SEO and get websites, no problem at all. But whatever, you know, a wide range of techniques. but it's keeping hold of them. And most clients, if you're doing a good job, will remain with you forevermore. I don't have anyone on contracts or anything, but by providing a good service, you know, I get paid month on month for the clients I look at.
Yeah.
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 You know, I generally
Exactly.
tend to find that out of every 10 contacts, whether that's a phone call or an email, 7 out of those 10, maybe out of those 10, are from business owners or whoever who have had a really bad experience with another SEO, so-called SEO.
I get those all the time.
Yep. And I mean, pre-qualifying whoever you're going to work with is a real key thing. Now, when you pre-qualify or try to work out who you're potentially dealing with, you can only really get good at that once you've done it enough, and you've realised that unless you get really good at spotting lemons compared to lemonade, to in a respectful way to walk away. And I think one of the biggest issues with anyone running their own SEO business or digital marketing business is to think that all business is good business. It isn't. Some business can be so bad business that it affects you mentally, it affects your cash flow, it affects your morale, and soon enough you're hating who you're working with.
Yeah.
It's the same thing the other way around too. So, if you want to become profitable, you've got to charge what you're worth, number one. And what you're worth is defined by your self-image. And if you start an SEO business thinking that you can get by charging £50 per day, then sooner or later you're going to end up getting rid of that business because you've had enough, it's not worth it. So one thing is, to be able to, once a quotation or proposal is out the way and it's dealt with and done and they've agreed, don't forget that you're going to be working with that client probably for the next 3 to 6 to 12 months. Now, if you have something in your gut that says, I need to address this issue before I go ahead, if you ignore that nagging doubt because you want the order, I can guarantee everyone listening to this show right now that at some point it'll bite you in the arse and there'll be a snowball effect. So why am I saying this? Right at the outset, try to get better or try to get good at pre-qualifying a client. And saying no, first of all, if you say no, you won't die. Secondly, if you say no, you might piss someone off, excuse my French, the client, because they think you're great. But unless you have a win-win scenario in negotiating and dealing with a client, unless there is a win-win, if there is like a, well, you're the supplier, you're the little bitty SEO, but they're the big client and they will pound you into the ground and make you do it for nothing. If that's how you start off the relationship, good luck, because it will kill you. If you start off the relationship where you're arrogant and stubborn and you think you're the world's best SEO and everything else, you know what? They'll get so sick of your attitude, they'll go with someone else who's more humble. It's about having a win-win. So the first thing you have to do when you deal with clients or when you're looking to win new clients is find your feet. If your gut's telling you they could be an awful lot of work, but they're asking you to do it less than the last guy, and that amount is going to be next to nothing, are you worth £50 per day? Or are you worth a bit more because you know how hard you've worked? They're not paying for you, they're not paying as an SEO per hour, they should be paying you for your experience today, for all what you've done, for all what you've learned. Well, that's not an hourly rate. In many ways, that's a project rate. That's if I help you reach, if you're at point A and you get to point B with my help, then I will charge you that. And that should really be, a fair whack for helping them succeed, etc. What I will say in closing, before I shut up, there's two things. One of them on SlideShare. If you type in Tony Dimmock, pre-qualifying and winning clients, Tony Dimmock, pre-qualifying and winning clients, you'll see my SlideShare, which I presented at Bottom SEO a few years back. It's got just over 6,000 views. There's a reason for that. People are finding it helpful. Number two, on my own blog, if you look at my blog posts, there's a ton of stuff about how to pre-qualify and deal with clients. So that's free help. I'm not going to get anything from it. It's from my experience, and check it out. Hopefully it'll help.
I just want to add to that the vital importance of no. I did a series on marketing a while back, and I said, you know, the thing that most defines a business isn't what you do, it's what you say no to. It's what you decide you don't do. And ideally, those no's should be real decisions, not, you know, default no's, but things that hurt you to say no to, almost. There is money there. You could do those things, but if you do, it will divert your focus from something you're better at or there is more demand for. So the importance of saying no, more than anything else, defines who you are as a business, who you are as a consultant, and how well you're going to do in that business. You know, saying no gives you the ability, the time to focus on the things you want to do.
I mean,
I was going to say you can spread yourself way too thin. You see a lot of these agencies that are literally just churning through as much business as they can get, and the key is just get people in, get people in, get people in. And then, and I'm not saying that, I'm sure that they're not all like this. They're not. I know they're not. But, you know, there is that like sell, 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 and then when somebody gets in, they end up under-resourced. So they don't actually have the capacity to deal with the new business that has been won. So I think it's key to sort of know exactly what sort of clients you're looking for, segment your audience, you know, your targets really well, profile them, and then, you know, think about who you can fit with, and, you know, how you can help them, and just really spend a bit of time looking for the right people to work with.
I've got to agree with that. I mean, I think as well as that, obviously, what Tony said, charging what you're worth. Not, you know, I started off in business and I'd done exactly what Tony was saying. I was grabbing people on £100, £200 a month, and it was purely get the money in to pay the wages, all that stuff, and all that I found myself doing. I was stressed out my box, and I had no way of growing the business in any way, shape or form. So it becomes very, very dangerous for your health and whatnot to do that, and you do have to say no, because I'd probably say 7 out of 10 clients I will say no to. I have no interest in, you know, having 100 SEO clients. I mean, I've got a handful of clients that I look after. I don't even want to do SEO for people anymore because it's so undervalued. I like to do training. You know, I do training with digital marketing agencies, and I find that quite rewarding because people are learning from what I've got. And you know, there's so many clients out there that just want it done, £100 a month. They're not prepared to pay a penny more. They'll pay you when they feel like paying you. And obviously, you check your goals and track things in analytics, and you can see them making, you know, hundreds of thousands of pounds or whatever they're doing in terms of monetary value. But, you know, they're talking to you like, you know, you're a bit of dirt on their shoe. So making sure that you set out from the get-go and charge what you're worth, not £100 a month. If, you know, there's loads of guys out there that will do it for £100 a month, but, you know, they're very rarely successful. So yeah, definitely charge what you're worth is essential.
I can see we are transitioning into money, and this is one of the big things. Again, you know, and people often take the jobs because, well, I need the money. Well, you know, this is where that no thing comes in. If you take this job that's horrible, you'll be so busy doing that, you will not have the time or the effort or the ability to close the good deals because they know you've taken that crap deal. If you start off working at £50 a day, you're going to be stuck working at £50 a day because remember what Dawn said, so much of this business is referrals. It's so much word of mouth. That terrible job you got that barely paid the bills is going to be the one that's referring to you to others at the same price. And guess what? They're going to try and talk you down in price, not increase it. Exactly. So you're going to be fighting to get that same deal for the rest of your life. You really can't do that. As for knowing your value, you've got to know what you're selling, and what you're selling is never just the stuff they can read on blogs. It's never just the technicalities of SEO. Your knowledge, your experience, and experience more than anything is so important. One of the things I've always said about an SEO is to be a junior SEO, you need 3 years experience. I want to have seen you run a successful site for 3 years before I will consider you a junior. Before that, you're a trainee. You require hand-holding. You require somebody who knows SEO to direct it. You don't have enough experience. You haven't seen enough changes over time. So, you know, understand you need to get that in. If you're thinking of starting a business in this, start getting that experience. Get as much experience as you can. If you can find 10 different client projects, or, you know, charity ones, and run 10 of your own sites, you're going to get that experience a little bit faster. Maybe in 2 years you're going to be there instead of 3. But still, you're probably going to be walking into a partly trainee position or a very junior position with only that. It's not until you've got the track record that you're able to compete with the people who have.
I mean, I also think that when you're, you know, working with new clients, I mean, word of mouth clients, as Dawn and Ammon has said, great. You know, you're already starting off as a +10 because you've been recommended to them, great. But you know, when you're in a position where someone calls you up and they're looking at other companies, sometimes it's going to sound a bit harsh, but sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is to lose a good deal. Because if you track back and you work out what you did and how you did it, and you really think, look at that, what happened, you can often find a number of things you've done wrong, which when a good client comes along in the future, where you can win double the amount of, you know, of a contract, you learn, you know. So as much as it'd be good to be able to spend that, maybe that first year or that time in the business with everything going well, I think that if you're able, you know, if when things don't go so well, I mean, when you're first starting out, you know, what I would say was that as an SEO, think about it this way: would you want to work with an architect if you was his first client, and he'd never done it before in his life? Well, probably not. You'd want to work with someone who's got a bit of a track record. Well, as Ammon said, before starting a business, build up a portfolio of charities, retail outlets, whatever it may be, various people you've helped. It could be training, it could be businesses you've helped with SEO, it could be social media, whatever it may be. But you know what people look for, and I used to, I mean, I just still do this off, you know, sometimes every now and then. But in the early days, I would, you know, I think it's on my website. You know, I would have well, we've helped, you know, these sort of types of companies. They started off at X, they grew to Y, they made Z. And when you're able to show people that you've got a bit of a cross-section of different types of businesses in different sectors, it shows that when someone calls you and says, oh, have you ever dealt with just solicitors or just e-commerce or just dog kennels or just whatever, if you're able to say, well, no, but I've actually worked with a number, you know, a variety of different clients, it shows that you've kind of, you know, you've had to know what you're doing to be able to help different clients. You're not a one-trick pony. I mean, some companies only want you to work, you know, when they speak to you about it, they might say, well, we want you just, you know, we just looking for those who've worked in the building industry. Well, if you can show them how your knowledge of Google can help both them and other people, then you're sort of 3/4 of the way there. But you'll often have times when you're up against those people who, you know, you'll get a call and you'll do a proposal. Well, they'll say, you know, we've spoke to this other company and they will charge us half and they'll put in more hours. And at those sort of times, it's going to sound harsh again, but sometimes clients need to go through the pain of working with a real stupid, shitty SEO to know what it's like to work with a better one. If you don't, you know, don't convince them. Don't be desperate. If you go to the ends of the earth to try and say, well, I'm the best thing, or you know, they're terrible and whatever. Some clients need to know what it's like to be dealing with someone where over a period of time they realise that was a bad call. Now, some will say, well, yeah, but it's up to SEOs to be honest. Well, yes, it is, but as I've been told by countless people in the industry over the years, there's good and bad apples in every industry. Well, maybe a way for you as a new business in SEO is to show them or to teach them or to help educate them the ways in which spotting a bad SEO company can help them save their money. Who knows? So that comes with experience. But you know, yeah, don't ever be afraid to say no. At the same time, if you feel that if there's conviction and you feel that the company you want to help has the same values as you. I mean, on my blog, on my website, we have a business values document, a PDF, and it talks all about our business values. And one of those is that, you know, it's a win-win. We believe in respect both ways. We'll make mistakes, but hey, if we can work with you and we enjoy working with you, you know, we can make magic happen potentially. You know, don't be afraid to have your own personal values, your own business values, what you're looking for in a client, what the best type of client, or what the ideal type of client would be for you. If you stray too far from what's good for you, you'll end up getting unstuck potentially. So it's always good to work out, well, what, you know, who is my ideal client? Is it local SEO, international SEO? Is it national SEO? You know, is it more e-commerce? Is it development? Whatever it may be. The more you define at the outset what you do and don't want to work with, the more laser focused you can be, and that will come across in the way you deal with those sort of clients. It'll come across in that you're laser focused. You know.
I think one of the good ways to hunt clients up, apart from the charity stuff that we were talking about, is to actually target. Something I used to do years ago was keep an eye on, I was living in London at the time, I'd keep an eye on what posters were going up, what billboards, who's advertising on the tube trains, and check out some of those sites. Look, they've just committed to spending thousands on an advertising campaign if it's just billboards. If you're looking at a TV campaign, that company has probably spent around about 10 million on a really big TV campaign. They've got money, they're interested in marketing. Have a look at their site. Now, while you're doing that, you're learning. You're looking at what they're doing, you're putting your stuff into practice, you're doing SEO on their site, you're doing an audit. If you can find stuff that's good, great. Now put together a proposal that indicates a few of the things you found and that you can solve this. You've got experience doing this, and that can be a highly targeted way of approaching clients with something interesting. Even if they've got an existing company, if that company missed it, there's going to be stuff there. Now, sometimes, yeah, it can be aggressive, and be prepared. You know, you're going to get a lot of no's, and you're going to get ignored a lot. But the experience you got doing the audits on those companies is still good. You're still learning. So that is a real win-win. Even if they don't hire you, you still got something for it. And that can be a useful way forward. And of course, you automatically know which clients you want to deal with. You've already seen things you can do for them. So when you make that pitch, you're able to make it on, I've seen this, I can fix this, and I expect this would raise, you know, views or impressions or whatever, and affect their income by this amount.
I have a stupid question as usual. I've checked sites of very famous big SEOs, yours as well, Ammon, for example, and most of the sites looks like, well, people, they don't really care. Well, unless you're doing blog like I don't know, like Tony, but most of the sites, they don't look like a SEO sites, if you know what I mean. They look like people look, okay, they say, okay, I have to have it, and that's it. So it's kind of like you going into a surgery, and surgeon, well, at the look of it, of course, well, I don't know. They have no. What should we do? Something really, well, not fixed, medically not fixed, or something like that. Is it because nobody really look at their website as a source of clients, and they just neglected it, or it's just, or I'm mistaken?
It varies a lot. If you look at Kayak, Randy's company, you'll see a professional SEO company's site, and you know, no question.
Because I think
mine
he's offering web design as well. I think. Because of this, so he tried to show we can do that, we can do that, we can do everything is moving and everything. But if you're offering technical SEO, for example, you check Alan Bleiweiss, well, very respectable SEO, and his site is like from 19th century.
But his blog post, the content there is what is drawing. Mine is really different because there's no blog. There's nothing there, and it was a deliberate experiment. Well, it was almost 2 years ago now, and it finished, and I need to redesign again. But it was at the time when everyone was saying, "Oh, you've got to have a blog, you've got to have articles, you've got to do this kind of thing." and particularly it's got to be on your own site. And I just wanted to show, no, you don't. This is it. I took it all down, and it hasn't hurt my business at all. Of course, I'm in a different position. People are usually coming to me to hire me, and it's similar to the word of mouth thing that Dawn was talking about earlier. With a lot of the top consultants, they're not looking for an SEO. They're coming to a specific SEO who is known for this expertise, and therefore the only search that really matters to most of my clients is where I rank for the search Ammon Johns, and as long as they can contact me, that's what they want to do. And I first learned that lesson very early on. I started off with a web design company, and I built websites, and that was in the mid-90s, and I stumbled into this because clients were literally asking, you know, we heard millions of people were online, how do we find them? It wasn't just SEO, of course, it was all kinds of marketing activity. But in a year's time, I wasn't able to do any more builds. I didn't even want to do builds. I was so busy doing the promotion thing that I shut down the web business, and literally I shut down the website. And I found, funny enough, that not having a website at that time made me like an insider secret. It enhanced the selling. And I know that sounds crazy, but it really was. When everyone else you think is having success and you're not, you always start to think there's a secret here. There's something going on I don't know about. So when you can't find it on a website, it kind of convinced them. It was an odd thing, but my site has always been quite minimal ever since. There's been times when I put up a lot of articles for people generally, but it's not for business. And a large part of my site has always been, you know, look, if you're searching for an SEO company, that's not me. That's not the search I'm in. You're probably in an early stage. You don't want an SEO company if you're coming to me. You want me specifically. You've already been with SEO companies. You've got some experience. You've been around the block, and now you want something just that bit different.
I'm exactly the same, because what I find is that I do add content to my website. I didn't even have anything other than just a landing page for the first couple of years, because what I find is that you can get the right sort of inquiries, but also the wrong sort of inquiries. And as Ammon said, now I get people that approach me, and if they'll email me by name. They'll say, "Hi Dawn, we saw you in a chat, or we saw you asking questions, or we saw you in a talk somewhere, or we read some of your stuff about server log analysis and that kind of thing." And they're specifically looking for a certain type of skill. But I don't really want to end up with absolutely loads of waves of generic tiny business SEO inquiries without sounding awful, just simply because it's kind of not the model that I've chosen to work with. I don't want to end up with a room full of 20 consultants or, you know, execs sat there with me just going around checking that they're actually doing some work. I want to just keep fine-tuning the things I do, if that makes sense. You know, so yeah, I think it's a personal choice. But I do have a site, and I think it looks reasonably attractive. We add to it from time to time, but you know, it is to some extent. It's the cobbler's shoes, isn't it? Sometimes you're too busy working on clients' projects to actually spend time making your own better, really. And when you have, if you like, as Craig said, enough business, your priority is to look after the business that you have and retain and keep growing with them, rather than actually going out there hunting and trying to rank #1 for SEO, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I don't agree. I mean, my website looks fairly decent, I would say. I have a number of websites, obviously, I portray through my blog, you know, that I'm just this guy, and there's a bit of useful information on there. But certainly, I don't really have the time to be sitting on it all day, every day, doing, you know, SEO for myself. I always try and retain decent positions and a presence, because people do look for, you know, some kind of evidence that I know what I'm talking about. But certainly, a lot of people, you know, SEO people are not necessarily web designers either. Some are, you know, kind of skilled in it, and you can slap up a WordPress template or whatever but we're not web designers, so I wouldn't expect it to be all this kind of graphical, whatever people are looking for. The content's quite important on a website anyway. The looks is, from an SEO point of view, is not too important, but I think we're all bogged down with trying to rank clients' websites than trying to make ours look, the best they can be. I mean, mine's is mobile responsive. I try and keep it up to date with some useful, actionable information. It's got contact details, job done, and I'm pretty sure if I shut it down tomorrow, I'm not going to lose any money. It's just a point of reference for people, and pretty much, I think the digital marketing agency is dead. To be fair, that kind of model is going out the window. As I said before, I've had an agency. Still have the website for it and stuff like that, but most of my inquiries come through my own blog because people want to hire me, not 10 of my staff or whatever. Same as Ammon and yourself, Don. People hire you, not that they couldn't give a toss about agencies anymore. And I think just agencies robbing people blind. People know that agencies just outsource their work to people like me or yourselves. So you don't really have to portray yourself that well online to actually get business, because if you're doing a good job and you're getting all your word of mouth, I mean, you guys can only handle an X amount of clients anyway, so that's probably one of the reasons why I don't personally hammer my own website, because I really don't need to.
Yeah. And in addition to that, there are so many people now who have ghost writers writing their blog posts. I mean, Larry Kim is famous for it. Neil Patel is well known for it. Yeah, they've got a lot of blog posts and they haven't written any of them. They haven't got a clue what's in half of them. And actually, if you check them, yeah, it's got a lot of followers, but half the information is wrong because it's been researched by somebody who is paid by the word and doesn't actually know what they're talking about. So you have to understand that the value of blogging and content is questionable, because the business owners are learning that, okay, yeah, it looks impressive, but I don't know enough SEO to know if it's true or not. And I know there is a lot of garbage out there. They can't tell the difference. The ones who can won't be impressed by it anyway. They're the ones who will go on the reputation. So, for me, I far more enjoyed doing the live Q&As. I don't have time to go away and research a question and look up other people's answers and give you, the best answer I can dig up from 1,000 places. I've got to answer off the cuff, and that's exactly what I have to do with my clients. They've got a problem, they're going to ask me, I've got to come up with the answer now.
SEO looks like a good restaurant. So people come in for chef, not for name or the restaurant. So follow-up question, another one. So how would you, if it's a success, but success is basically based on you, Tony, on you, Don, on you, Ammon, on you, Tim or Craig. How would you replicate? How would you scale it if it's going well? How is it possible?
Do you remember what I said earlier? You've got to know what business you're building in the first place. This is where, if you're going for that fifth kind, scale is everything, and you build from the start for scale. You build to make yourself replaceable and to make everything else replaceable, so that anybody can come in and run this business. It's a machine, and that's the way it's built. When you're building a business to run yourself, you kind of make yourself integral to it, because it's all tuned for you. You've made it your own. It's like one of these houses which is so well decorated to that person's taste. Nobody else is going to pay even what the building is actually worth because they don't like the decor. You'd end up getting half the value of the place if you just painted it white. And it's a little bit like that. Scaling is very difficult. You need to build the business that scales rather than build a business and then try to scale it, because the services you offer are going to depend on what scales well. Your business is going to be built around the things that scale well instead of the things that you enjoy doing, which often don't. I mean, consultants, and most of us here are consultants, we don't scale. I can't hire another Ammon Jones. I can train one up if I've got 15 years, but I can't hire one. And I've had to bring in people in agencies I've been in the past, and it's a job. It really is, to bring in a top level consultant. You have to really go through the hiring process and have a fantastic offer. So consultancy scales very difficult. Other things scale pretty well, and of course the ultimate scaling is the business that's worth the most. Software as a service, SEO software, that scales perfectly.
Anyone?
I think you can break off tiny bits of it. As Ammon said, unfortunately though, if you are the business, then it isn't, you know, you can't just make a duplicate of that. But for me, for instance, I work with other people who are, you know, as I say, I work with somebody who's a PR, her specialism is in PR, if you like, in journalism, and that's, you know, she's not an SEO, she doesn't choose to be an SEO, she chooses to be really good at PR and journalism. And, you know, I'll work with a brilliant graphic designer, I'll work with, you know, web developers and email marketers, because even though we're able to, you know, this is the point about aiming to be T-shaped almost, having an understanding of everything, but this, like, an inch wide and a mile deep in a core area. But as you say, it's just, you can't ultimately scale that if you are the mile deep part of it. But as Ammon said, again, it is personal choice. I've chosen to, business can be a lifestyle as well, and for me, the lifestyle choice is having the flexibility. I'm really into studying and researching, and it means that I'm able to spend quite a bit of time doing that. So yeah, for me, this is not scalable, but it's not necessarily the choice that people always want to make. I'm not necessarily looking for a massive buyout of an agency. I know a lot of people are looking for that big payout when they sell to an even bigger agency who's buying up all the other agencies. It's personal choice, and for me, that's not, at this point in my life, what I'm looking for. You know, that's my 2 penneth anyway.
And again, this kind of ties in, you know, the other side of that is knowing what you want to build in the first place. Don't be afraid to be small. This is where we said about knowing the value of what you do and knowing what to say no to. By saying no to the things that aren't right, you'll have more time and therefore be able to scale more of the things you do that pay the best and give you the most pleasure, and that's what you need to do. Don't be afraid to turn down poor work and jobs you don't really want, because like I say, the time you spent doing that is time you could have spent chasing a good client that you would love to have. So, you know, these things do have an ongoing opportunity cost.
And what I would add to that is that even though we're saying you can't scale it, you can't scale the expertise at a certain level. But what you can do is you can find people that can do some of the smaller jobs, yeah? So you can find, you know, a team of really excellent, skilled copywriters who go off and do research, because there is only so much that we have the time for. So maybe us going off researching all day long, as Ammon said, on a particular subject for a client is not the best use of their time. But over the years, you do build a lot of contacts, and you know when you found people who are good at what they do. So it really is just a case of, for me, you know, having a better lifestyle, but also working with a good network of people who are also looking for the same sort of lifestyle, if that makes sense. Yeah, because there's good people out there, also experts in other things, and you find them along the way.
The biggest issue I actually, you know, as a business, we've faced a lot along over the years. But one of the largest ones that I faced was actually when I attempted to scale and merged in with another agency. The legalities of when you're trying to get your brand and name back when it all goes tits up, you know, 2 years later, was an absolute nightmare. Wow. So due diligence, on the people, or whether they be partners, employees, is putting your brand and your name on the line. Even with clients, due diligence is paramount. Obviously, I've started out years ago, and you pick up a client here and there, and you build on. But when it starts getting into a certain field, and your due diligence, whether it's someone you're working with, even someone that you're outsourcing to someone, which, because you don't have that particular skill, you might need an additional page building or whatever the case may be, or PR. Due diligence, because at the end of the day, it's your brand and your name that you need to protect. And yeah, I learned that really hard way, trying to claw that back a couple of years ago, when it hits up.
Yeah, and I think it takes a long time to actually find good people that, as you say, that you can get that trust, because it's something that develops, isn't it, over the years. And as Ammon said, really, ultimately, clients they're paying for those contacts that you built up over years. They're paying for you and associates, as such. Does that make sense? So if you know somebody who's great and you work hand in hand with them at PPC, you deal with the SEO, they deal with the PPC. The client is paying for the due diligence that you've made into that person and the relationship that you built with them. They're saving them a lot of that time and effort because you've effectively done a lot of the filtering and screening along the way. So that is also almost part of the services that you're offering. It's saying, well, these are my contacts as such.
There are always processes that are scalable, but you've got to be so careful about them, because the minute you start looking for, right, what can I do that scales, you're now dealing with those companies that deal in scale. And you're looking at a lot of overseas suppliers, you're looking at a lot of companies in India and the Philippines where labour is quite cheap. You're not going to compete with those in other markets very easily. What you can do instead is, of course, you vet those companies overseas and you work with specific offshore vendors. They're paying for your expertise in vetting and they're getting the price of those offshore people. So that can work. It's almost like doing the software as a service, except it's overseas as a service. But yeah, you've got to be careful. You can do things like audits that scale very easily. That is, after all, where most of the software as a service works. You type something in and it spits out numbers, but it doesn't give insight. It just gives data, and that's where a lot of us are different. We focus on the insight. We focus on interpreting the numbers into practical business things. You see people looking at links and they say, oh, we've got this many links, and according to this tool, they're worth that. Are they really worth that? And are they worth that in a vacuum? Or, does it compare to what your competitors have got? And I have seen really tough SERPs. I have seen SERPs in things like Viagra, in the heyday of the Viagra affiliates, where literally 2 links were the difference between the one at the top and everybody else. And it wasn't about the number of links, it was about what those links were. They were cast iron. No audit tool is going to turn that up, and no common audit is going to turn that up. So you've got to understand that a lot of the things that scale, it's about doing what you can do cheaply instead of doing what's valuable. And I always say, if you want to make money, go instead for what's valuable. Go for what people don't want to do, and especially your competitors. And if you can find ways to make that work profitably, you're golden.
If you,
And also, I was going to say, you don't want to end up actually spending so much of your time just vetting the quality and screening quality and dealing with quality management. That, it's just, for me, trying to scale things and just constantly checking that everything's actually to a standard just unbelievably frustrating. So, you have to decide and think, well, do I want to be that? Is that the path I'm looking to take, or do I prefer to, pick and choose the clients who will pay more for, a better quality?
I mean, some, depending upon who the person is that's starting the business, running the business, some people have a disposition towards wanting to control everything. Some people, if they run their business, prefer to work on their own alone. And the minute you scale, the minute you hire, the minute you outsource, you have to take ownership of what that person or that entity, that business is doing for you. And you have to be able to deal with that person, work with them, check them, and while you're still doing your own work, steering the company, looking what's happening, steering the ship. And there's nothing more common than trying to scale a business, but being the sort of person that would rather be shut alone in a room, doing the work yourself. And sometimes you can have a real disengagement between, just because you want to scale and grow the business doesn't necessarily mean that you're the right person to do it, and that's coming in line again with knowing what you really want, as Ammon says. Begin with the end in mind. Stephen Covey in his book 7 Strategies says begin with the end in mind. There's nothing more common than there being a mismatch between what a person wants to do with a business and what they need to become as a person in order to help that business grow. Well, some people aren't that way inclined, and it's really sad when some people find that out when they've lost a business and they've lost 100 grand down the plug hole too. So you have to be really honest with yourself. Do I want to control? Am I a control freak? Am I able to let go? Am I able to sell it in 5 years? What if I want it too bad? All of these sort of different decisions and different considerations need to be really kept and really worked through, because you can have the best business in the world with the best clients and hate every second of it, or you can have a small business where you're at home and you're working in an office, you share the office, maybe you're a remote worker, whatever it may be, and you've got your 10 or 12 or 15 clients. You can be the happiest person on the earth because it's right for you. And what I'll leave this chat with today, the round table, is go within first, find out what it is you want, the why, find out what it is you want in the future first. Don't put yourself through hell just because you think you want a business. And if you do run a business, be kind to yourself, because there's enough people out there in the world that will tell you how shit stuff is. The truth is, whatever you believe, you kind of get to make your own bed. So if you're worth having a good business and you're worth growing your business, invest in yourself as much as you invest in your education and how to do your business. Invest in yourself, because that's who runs the business ultimately.
Guys, we've been here more than 1 hour. If anyone wants to say something, go ahead. Otherwise, nobody. Well, hopefully, this chat will be regular. We'll see how it goes, and I'll talk to you all of you. See how we can scale it. So thank you very much for everybody. Okay, thank you, Tony. You were first time with us. Thank you very much. And our veterans, Team Kappa, thank you very much for being with us. Don, thank you very much. You were, well, a little bit with us, but not that much. Thank you, Craig. It's your second time, and thank you, Ammon. Without you, we couldn't do it. Always. Okay, thank you, and thank you very much for everybody who are watching us. Tonight we're going off air, so you can say, "Hi, Mom, I'm on a tele."